Howdy, welcome back. This is Matthew Pizgatti talking about the drip garden. I wanted to give a quick update and I assume conclusion on the little experiment I was running, just to kind of set the basis again as to what I was playing with as far as a compounding schedule. Is that we all know from basic math that compounding more often in the garden will get you to a higher number of plants quicker. Your rate of compounding of adding new plants will be faster in a day rather than if you were to only compound once per day. So we know that inherently just based on the numbers that you're going to increase your number of plants quicker. If you compound multiple times a day, that's just how the element of compounding interest works. But skipping past that, my question was, since we also know that, as the developer has stated, as Forex Shark has mentioned in his AMAs, there is a certain amount of almost being penalized on your ROI. You don't get up to the 3.3% or whatever it is per day. You don't get to that maximum amount if you are not compounding more than the average user in the system. Now, since there's going to be, you have to be on par or better than the average user in the system to get the full amount of rewards in a day. Now, my next question about that was, obviously, my first assumption was that it has to be ratio-based, right? Because everyone has a different number of plants. Everyone has a different sized bag. So it can't be that person A compounds 20 times in a day and person B compounds only 5 times in a day because that's all they can compound versus harvest. That can't be right. That can't be the judge. So it has to be percentage based. It has to be like a ratio. This person is compounding 80% of the time, and he represents the average. You know, if all of the average summed together ratios of all the users in the system are doing this percentage of compound versus harvest, then obviously that's what we're basing off of, right? That's the average user in the system, and we need to do better than that or be on par with them. So, to my question, which was probably inherently easy to answer, just intuitively, I should say, intuitively answer. But I was wondering, if I compounded once per day, did I see some type of punishment? Did I see some type of decline in my LP value per day more than what we were already seeing? Now, remember, DRIP has been on this downward trend. We think we're seeing an uptick here. We will see. We don't know for sure if this is the one, if this is the floor, but there's a lot of value, a lot of volume, I should say, hitting right now. So we've been on this downward trend, excuse me, which means everyone was losing LP anyway. I mean, the DRIP BUSD LP was dropping rapidly. We're seeing an uptick. But here's what I was seeing was during this downward trend, compounding more rapidly. We know it's getting me more plants, but I was still staying pretty relatively even. I was still having a pretty horizontal price action. When the LP value is dropping quicker, obviously, if the decay looks exaggerated due to the LP token value dropping, we're going to see a decline no matter what. Everyone basically is, or they are only maintaining being just kind of copacetic, horizontal here. So then we look at my experiment that I was running, which I was trying to do over the weekend. First, I stopped because I had a big referral, but after that, it didn't seem like I received any. And what I saw, at least from these like 3 or 4 days, was that it's really about the same amount of action. I mean, the LP is dropping rapidly. It was still on a downward trend with the DRIP token. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know conclusively. But from those days, at least, I'm seeing about the same type of pattern. Just depends on where the decay was at that point in that time of day when I compounded, but this looks like a pretty horizontal or slightly downward movement, which is what we had already been seeing with the more rapid compounding. I don't actually see a huge difference. There wasn't some giant negative thing there. Now, obviously, like I say, compounding more per day, I say this in a lot of my videos about the garden, we know that that's going to give you more plants quicker, which means your rewards are just going to be higher than somebody who doesn't do that. If they're only compounding once per day. That being said, I don't think they are falling behind all that much as far as the rate of decay. because when I've averaged earlier on when I was getting into this before the large decline in the DRIP token price, I was averaging a longer time period, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks from when I first got in, and I wasn't seeing a large decay. I was seeing maybe 1.6, 1.7. It really seemed like 1.5 most days when you averaged on a longer time scale and not, oh, look at the 4% per day in the last week, because we know that's from this falling drip price again. So I think it's just reassuring to let us know, though, to kind of run this experiment, that you could compound once a day. I don't think, because I think it's ratio based, as long as you're still compounding way more than you harvest, so you're doing like an 80-20 type rule, I don't think you're going to fall that much behind on the decay if the LP price is doing what it should, if DRIP is going up or staying stable in value. You're not going to see this huge decline any more so than anyone else. So that's the conclusion to my experiment, is compounding further apart, like once a day, is still keeping us about level. There's not much of a difference here when we look at that, minus that drop in LP token price, which we had been seeing. So I would still, if someone were to ask me or what I do, I'm still compounding multiple times a day. I just want to get to a higher number of plants quicker, so that's part of my strategy. This is not financial advice. I can't tell you what to do with your funds or how to make, how you should play the game. This is kind of a DeFi crypto game. I can share my strategies and tell you what I'm doing, but I can't offer direct financial advice for you because these are all high risk. Again, this one is advertised as being even more high risk than the drip faucet. So they're high risk, high reward when they're paying out, which they haven't. This one hasn't been with the main token. One of the base tokens of the LP has been falling. We know that's why. And there's a lot of reasons for that. There's a lot of other videos out there. And hopefully we're going to see an upswing soon or within the next month or two. But I'm going to keep compounding up to that point. Thanks for watching. I appreciate all your likes and subscribes if you appreciate the content. And I hope you have a great morning, afternoon, evening, day, whatever time of day it is for you. And once again, thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video.